Hello, interstellar everyone. Welcome to class 11 biology. In this video on chapter 15, plant growth and development, we will be discussing about growth rates and conditions for growth. For growth rate lana khala wore. Ani sarlong che la ani conditions khar khar sang wore. We going to discuss che in the. Okay, so thangbo dikhare growth rate. So what do we mean by growth rate? So the definition of growth rate is the increased growth per unit time that is termed as growth rate. Growth lana salong che wala warwa. Growth rate lana khala wore salong che gi gyokse de la war. So the increased growth per unit time is termed as growth rate. And this growth rate can be expressed mathematically. And it can be expressed in two forms. There are two forms of growth rate. Kharre lawa imba arithmetic growth rate and geometrical growth rate. Based upon the nature of the growth rate, it can be of two mathematical forms, arithmetic growth rate and geometrical growth rate. The geometrical growth rate, yabu gotsegu worda kiranzo. So, clearly yabu gotsegu yobi by na. In simple form, I will show you in these two diagrams. Over here, in this one, you can see a growth rate. And in the second diagram, you can see another growth rate of another child. Okay, so the hypothetical jada lo the diagram thangbudina ta na every year a child grows by 3 inches, let's say inch sum longyo chasha. So longa indu zambala ko height digam siore lo 2 indu zambala ko inch sum long lo 2 indu zambala yangya inch sum long lo ge indu zambala yangya inch sum long ni kota digam simbuchar. Now, if you see, every year his height is increasing by 3 inches. So this type of growth is called as arithmetic growth, and the rate is called as arithmetic growth rate. And in this case, we get a linear curve. The curve the mare dikhare, the thick mao dikhare do, thick kaptu re do, linear re do. So this is arithmetic growth. Now, on the other side, you can see another child whose height doubles every year. Na ko longa indu zambal ko ringze digam sto lo thu chi du zambal ko ringze dig double chare wa ani lo dyu indu zambal lo thu khaji gi height joro di double cha du wor yo shung so ani lo ge indu zambal lo dyu khaji gi height di double cha du wor. So that means this type of growth, it is exponential growth or geometric growth. So ni clear shung so arithmetic growth rate and geometrical growth rate la du zambal la khandi do chara arithmetic growth kabla khaji do the child he grows at a constant speed or constant rate so di kharra do thi khabdu chira do. But on the other side, geometric growth now his height doubles every year, and here you can see the curve is not linear. It is in a j shape. J shape do chag do so linear ragre de la kharra j shape chira. So the arithmetic rate di kharre geometric growth rate. This simple form to make you understand arithmetic and the difference between arithmetic growth and geometric growth. We are talking about plants, and plants they grow through cell division. Cell growth ke through and plant ko grow chigorwa. So in arithmetic growth rate, arithmetic form of growth rate, plant kharchigolana after one cell division, arithmetic cell chigla when it divides after one cell division, cell chigni chadu zambala, one of the daughter cells it continues to divide while the other differentiates and it matures. That means it stops dividing. Cell chigne cell ni chadu zambala, cell chigne cell ni chadu zambala, cell chik ko divide chaygu nuba di nyarza chigore, whereas cell sawa shimba chik chagyo jorwa ko mature chadu it differentiates. Differentiates lawa imbana, it stops dividing and it attains a final structure and a function. And it becomes mature. So cell ni ne cell chik nye gi cell dina shi divide chaygu nuba nyagore, cell shimba di khajet gore divide chay samsha gore. So then just continues divide che de way by na. And did the khala gore arithmetic cell arithmetic growth lower. An example call example kharikina degree la by na. You can take the example of root growing at a constant speed. That is arithmetic growth. And mathematically, we can express arithmetic growth as formula dete do. LT is equal to L0 plus RT. LT lana khare length at the time t. L0 la length at time 0, right? And R la growth rate or the elongation per unit time. So this is the mathematical expression or the mathematical formula to show arithmetic growth rate. Arithmetic growth kajigi formula dicha to. And if you plot this particular growth rate, right, the type of growth pattern chomar kesi krangi graph paper gala plot chewe by na, what do we obtain? We obtain a linear line or a linear curve. The curved here it is not a curve, it is just a straight line. Linear lana kaptu lagorwa. So you get a linear line. So tinge gaji dinga jo par de la relate chitu do. So this is arithmetic growth. So dende do cell divide cheni plan grow chigi yobi by na the growth dinga zo khande ro shagre graph paper ngala the growth ki pattern dinga zo khar ragre linear line ragre khaptu shagre so an koi formula dikhar re dire so kya zo formula de chemba nya gorda. Okay, now on the other hand zo khare ore geometric growth. In geometric growth, after each mitotic cell division, both the cells they retain the ability to divide and they continue to divide. Dinal halawore cell chik divide cheni cell ni la cell ni chagdo cell ni ga divide cheg nuba de nyarsa chi wor di nuzambala cell chik ne cell ni chagr cell ni ne cell shi chagr cell shi ne cell ge chagre ge ne chudu lani tab dab ki par digir always multiply by 2, right? And that type of growth is called as geometric growth. This is called as geometric growth. And ये geometric growth की curve दिखने रोज रागर लसों ये की J shape रागर लसों J shape, right? So किसी if it is purely geometric, then you get a J-shaped curve on the graph. So this particular living organisms nanglo la J-shaped curve ra pe khapur hachin re lawo imba na however la do J-shaped curve khachin rawo malana due to limited nutrient supply, right? The growth ultimately slows down and it leads to a phase called as stationary phase. Thinking on the curve the jail tungu clear chagr. And geometric growth choro it can be expressed with this particular formula. W1 is equal to W2 ERT multiply dansha doa. So the khare W1 is equal to final size. W1 lana khare the final size. W0 la na initial size. And R dikhare growth rate. So the relative growth rate reda. Okay. And T dikhare time of growth and E is the base of natural logarithm. So kya the value this da base of natural logarithm ka value exact chiyore di shayar de E di sabla. This di thanga di known reda base of natural logarithm. Okay, so this is the formula for geometric growth. So this is the formula for arithmetic growth and this is the formula for geometric growth. Now I told you in living systems we do not see the J-shaped curve. Even we take this particular formula, J-shaped curve we get something called sigmoid curve. Sigmoid curve. So sigmoid curve the due to limited nutrient supply and because of any other reasons, right? Because of cell death. In the growth it does not keep on exponential. Exponential phase the maintain it becomes stationary after some time. And stationary lana stable chart shape sigmoid curve. So here you can see initially there is a lag phase. You can see over here process khali ne chudu ne da double down so it rises exponentially. Then after some time due to limitations in nutrients, gravity ki ke be inere and cell death ki ke be inere, the growth it stops. It attains a stationary phase and the shape you can see over here it is called as sigmoid shape or S curve. Human ki growth ti sigmoid shape rail and kiras koyugir uchinju ke ni ro ke ni height ya longa jo marwe ambu khande re khali longor ine teenage thuzu jo marwe lo gu chu che dijen ya hopta me khaji re bu shu ya longor dine lo nishu tse chi ro le du zambalan khachi re it slows down stationary phase la du do height gan ge she or da azu gi human gi body growth de khare it is sigmoid shape inangshi anda azu de landa khare plan khaji gi geometric growth jorwa de khare s shape do cha do or is graph kana plot che wi bai na. Okay, so I hope you are clear regarding the two forms of growth rate, arithmetic growth rate and geometrical or exponential growth rate. And you have to remember the two formulas. Okay, and you can see over here in diagram C, it shows the stages during embryo development showing geometric growth and arithmetic growth phases. Zygote cell chik ne ni cha ni ne shi ne ge cha ya jomarwe. Yenzo khare geometric growth phase thre. Because of limitations in resources, because of cell differentiation, because of cell death, the growth will become arithmetic in nature. Arithmetic phase now tour. Early embryonic development dikhare geometric growth re, and after embryo hatch chesa vejela. Yamena germinate chesa vejela and kharcha re arithmetic phase start ur. So dikhare example doj terda. Okay, diche. Now we can also identify two types of growth rate based upon quantitative comparisons. Quantitative shishani ani khariore growth rate manda niyor chikhare absolute growth rate niwa dikhare relative growth rate. Absolute growth rate la duzambala khala ore measurement and the comparison of total growth per unit time is called absolute growth rate. Khazu longsha kyon dom khazu longsha di taya jumara dila ngazu khala ore absolute growth rate la ore. Whereas relative growth rate la duzambala khala ore the growth of the given system per unit time expressed on a common basis, for example per unit initial parameter, is called relative growth rate. Nye la chijung khagams chido 다 가주 단다 가주 롱샤 되주 디바라 가주 롱샤 녀가라 시샤니 봐 녀라 키로 지기요 다 단다 키로 니 차스라나 키로 지롱로 녀라 키로 니요 다 키로 쫑아 롱샤 키로 쫑아 차샤 라고 임바나 아니 가주래 봐 코니 파랄 relative sto 디 갈로리 relative growth rate lower so declare soya che kiran zo lotem na lo example jikte yor di nyanga chemburu duda right you might be asked in your competitive examinations as well. So in this diagram you can see two leaves. One leaf it is very small, it is about 5 centimeters square in area, whereas there is another leaf, large leaf, it is about 50 centimeters square in area. Both grow lavana expansion chik chunga yo jomare ko 10 centimeters square chare che di grow cheni 55 centimeters square char. That means both of them they have grown about 5 centimeters square ko khaju long re kyon domne khaju long re lawin bana 5 centimeters square 5 centimeters square long. For both of them the absolute growth rate di chikbaji gyar khajina na thuju tis nanglo la khoju 5 centimeters square ma do long yamar. Now if you compare between these two relative growth rate gana keje she wi ban if you talk about relative growth rate you can see that this one is growing much faster quick growth rate the fast sara do khajina na it has doubled 5 centimeters square ne 10 centimeters square chani double cha so, whereas this one slow. It is growing slowly compared to its initial size. It's growing slowly. Okay, so now you know about the differences between absolute growth rate and relative growth rate. Absolute growth rate but the relative growth rate relative growth rate the fast higher relative growth rate the slow higher. Now let's talk about conditions for growth. Conditions, growth ki conditions. Salong chewala, plant chik salong chewala, chagen khar sang gugore, digan keji share da. Okay, thangsho khar gugore, chu gugore, water. Why is water needed for growth? Chik the photosynthesis che dukorang go yo barwa. Nide ne khar chigore, it is necessary for the maintenance of turgidity of the cells. That is 6 hours less or turgidity. Right, water is necessary to maintain the turgidity of the cells for the expansion growth. Turgid lana khala or kesi gambu nanglo lu chu nyuich madumalu wimba na gambu di turgid mare kesi gambu nanglo lu chu mangbulu wimba na gambu di khaji pa shang ru do nanglo chu yewe kengi di khala or turgid la or cell gambu ji la shisha wimba na turgid di la namba khala or nanglo la liquid content mangle do nanglo la liquid content cell gi nanglo liquid content manga yo wimba na cell di turgid cha dur cell wall cell membranes they start to expand, right, because of the inner pressure. The pressure the tugger pressure so di khare water gis chiwor plant gi cell nalo la mangche khare churan ro. So turgidity maintain sui chigre chugi maintain chiwor liquid dikhare chugi chiwor. So water is necessary to maintain turgidity of the cells, and also for, and therefore it is responsible for expansion growth. Di kharchi gola na nanglo la chu mangbu zu bi na plant gi cell nanglo la chu mangbu zu bi na plant gi cell the ring rudur it becomes elongated. Plant cells elongate khajin chigor ko chero khajin rugor la wi na ko gi nanglo le yo vacuole chu marwe vacuole nanglo la chu mangbu be khangor so dinge the vacuole ko la jaim ba. So vacuole it stores water, excess water, and it expands. Vacuole expand chidu zambala cell ge expand chigor. So this happens with young cells. Old cell nalo la cell wall tapu pe cha sa wejela vacuole nalo chu khaju mo khaju ju bi mene ko khare cell khora khashang e yomar ko cheru to e yomar. But for young cells, when the cell wall is not that hard, what happens when vacuole gets filled up with water, the cell it expands. Cell it starts to grow in size. It happens because of water entering into the vacuole. And it water also provides the medium necessary for enzyme related reactions. So plant cell nalo reaction mangu shoes to war growth chidu zambala. So reaction dige che chidu medium jugu gore medium disu gore water gisyo. So water is necessary for growth. Thangbu che. Niwa dikhare law imban oxygen. Oxygen kachin necessary re growth requires energy. For growth is a living process to cha ru so khar gugore kola energy gugor grow chevala organism jik sarlong chevala energy gugore energy dikhane la bana through oxidation of nutrients, oxidation of carbohydrates, oxidation of any other biomolecules, right, so that the living organism or the living cell it gets its energy required for the growth process. So oxygen gore it helps in the release of metabolic energy needed for growth. It happens through oxidation. Mazu respiration kana jaiba. Respiration nanglo jangdu zambala mazu kharta embe. Aerobic respiration chedu aerobic respiration chungu yobi imba na inji minchi kharu gudo oxygen gudo. So oxygen is necessary for growth. Then third is nutrients. Nutrients there are two forms of nutrients, macronutrients and micronutrients. List another assignment. Make a list of macronutrients and micronutrients. Macronutrients, the micronutrients a simple pair. Macronutrients are those nutrients which are required in large amount. Plant la salong chela. Micronutrients are those nutrients which are required in very trace amount. They are also called as trace elements. So the macronutrients, the micronutrients la the plant gets halong chidinji miji gugor mama gugore kashe mama gugor kashe nyunga gugore, but both of them they are necessary, right? So make a list of macronutrients and micronutrients that are required for plant growth. Okay, so both of these are required. And konzo kharchi gore plant ki supu nalola, they help in the synthesis of protoplasm and they also act as a source of energy. So nutrients go do growth la. And then we have temperature and light. Optimum temperature and proper light is necessary for growth, plant growth. Growth, the metabolic process change zambala. And if temperature yakuj gu yobara, optimum temperature gu or enzyme activity involved yobara. So optimum temperature is required for plant growth. For example, in winter times, plants they grow very slowly. Some of them they cease to growth, or they cease to grow. Whereas in summer times they start to grow very fast. So some optimum temperature is required for the proper growth of plants. The condition last light. Light a proper quality and intensity of light is necessary, and not just quality and intensity of light, but also the duration of the exposure of light. North Pole North Pole gingonjola yatharing bu drobe imba gunga kabla nimathong dur nimathong dur zambala plan gi salong chegi process de effective. If the sunshine or the duration of exposure of light daylight the nyoru drobe imba plan gi salong la 지켜봤어요. 아주 photoperiodism 는 제일 장그러와. So these are the factors or the conditions necessary for growth: water, oxygen, nutrients, temperature, and light. Okay. So in the next video, we will be discussing about differentiation, de-differentiation, and redifferentiation. And we will also look at the development process. So please read section 15.2 and 15.3 before you watch the next video. Okay, thank you.